Tell you what, it's a pretty tough gig when you get up for the first time to do one of these, and I've got to follow Vic, and then I have to follow John as a mentor and a hero. That's tough. This morning, I got a phone call really urgently. Nick, where are your slides? I was like, I don't have any. I'm just going to talk. But Nick, what you do is you use technology in how you teach. I was like, yeah, but I don't need technology to talk. But what I did beforehand is I threw up a PK about the Imposter Syndrome up on the conference website. And I know quite a few of you have seen it because I've had quite a few people come up and say, hey, that's me. I know I feel like that too sometimes. So have you ever felt like that you just don't belong somewhere? Have you ever felt that you're a fraud? Amongst this room, there are some brilliant brains and medical educators and supervisors who know lots and lots of stuff. So it's very, very easy to feel like a bit of a fraud or an imposter. The imposter syndrome was initially described during 1978, the Georgia State University in Atlanta, and a female psychologist, she found that she had this group of women who kept coming to her for advice, and these were all high-achieving women. These were women who knew their stuff, and despite external evidence to the contrary, these women still felt that they were frauds. These women still didn't feel that they deserved their place where they were. What we've found since, and there's been lots and lots of research done on the imposter experience or syndrome, is that this just doesn't apply to women. It crosses all cultures, it crosses gender, and it crosses age. So I know a few of you feel like this too, because I can see some heads nodding in the seats. So how did I get here? If you saw the PK, you've probably seen it, but I will go over my journey again. So I was a small town, went to a country high school in Victoria, bit of a hippie chick, thought life was going to be amazing. I was going to, embrace the world and go and explore, and I was going to do everything. And I'd never failed at anything before. And I went to university, and I got into Monash, and I thought, wow, this is going to be fabulous. I'm going to learn stuff. I'm going to find all these inspirational people. I'm going to go to protests. It's going to be fantastic. And I got there, and that's actually not what happened at all. I didn't fit. And it's really funny because I've actually got some of my classmates in this room, so it's a bit of a strange experience. And maybe they feel that way too. But I got to Monash, and instead of this place of disruption, it was a place of privilege. And the places where I went to, all these people drove really nice cars. So the car park had BMWs, all those sorts of things. I didn't have a car. I went to medical school and I had to wear a white coat. And it was full of where you went to school. I went to a country high school. I didn't go to a school, that had really nice shiny buildings in the city that you had to pay lots and lots of money for. And everybody knew each other. So I simply didn't fit. And I failed. I failed my first year of medicine. So here am I at the tender age that I am, and I'm finally confessing my sins to all of you. And it's actually amazing. I've had a few conversations with people during the last couple of days going, yeah, I failed too. So good. Makes me feel better. Anyway, I eventually passed, and I actually passed really well. And I fell in love with medicine. I fell in love with general practice, and that was because I had wonderful tutors and mentors along the way. And in particular, actually, at the Monash we had Prof. Murtagh, Steve Trumbull, all these fabulous people who loved general practice. And I was going to go home. I was going to go home and be the super duper country GP. I was going to do all the skills, O&G, anaesthetics, ED, did them all. And life happened. And this is a conversation I've actually had with quite a lot of young women while I've been here today. How do we stop this happening? And it's just part of the journey. So when I say life happened, I travelled, fellow travelled. I got married and I had 3 children. And I was very, very happily disengaged from medicine and learning for a while. And you know, up to my knees in, you know, toilet training, dirty nappies, you know, snot, spew, all those things. So I went to work, that was it. But through the whole time I was still teaching. And, you know, it was still ticking over in the back of my mind that I'll actually get back to education. And when the time came, when my youngest was big enough and I stopped breastfeeding, I thought, okay, we'll dip my toe back in. And I went to dip my toe back in, and those spots were all taken. And they were all taken because and what happens to a lot of women is we take time out to rear families. And, you know, and this is increasingly happening with men too. And when you go back, those spots aren't there. They're already been taken, and those men have already, you know, those career spots have already happened, they're taken. The networks that I'd established had been broken. I'd lost my confidence, and I didn't know where to start or how to get back in. I live in a regional area in Queensland that, you know, is a 10-hour drive from Brisbane, so you don't get to chat with people that often. Then I found a medium that actually suited me. And we've talked a lot about the future and FOMED and social media and smack and all those things today. I'd probably say FOMED found me. So this was a place where I could actually learn, and I could do things in my own time, so asynchronously, in my own space, and my brain just switched on again. And, you know, it was great, it was fantastic. And I was getting ideas not just from my local community, but from overseas, from other people who taught in other areas. So this all started from the crit care guys, but then, you know, teachers, all those sorts of things. And then during this journey, you know, fellow travellers, and I hooked up with a group called GPDU, which is just starting at that stage. And with Karen Price and Tim Leuenberg and a few others, we thought about where we're going to take this space. A lot of people think this is pretty organic and it just grows and it's just happening. There is a bit of strategy behind it. And where can we take education in general practice? So it started as really much as peer support, and that will always be there, but it's always thinking about what can we do differently, how can we change things, how can we make it better, how can we incorporate things into what we do every day. And that was my portal back to reconnecting. It was also my portal back to networking and to establishing the relationships that I had lost along the way, although that was still there. And, you know, just starting to get my medical mojo back again. And it's actually a really, really nice feeling. So how do we stop people falling off? How do we stop, especially young women who we've picked up, our young GP medical registrar educators, young women who you know, are already in leadership positions where they are. How can we stop them falling off when they take time out to have families? How do we keep them connected? How do we keep them linked into our educational networks? So social media does have that role, and that's part of it. I think as RTOs or whatever we morph into, we keep those networks alive. And one of the things that we are looking at, there's a group called Feminem, which is a group of women in emergency medicine who keep those networks going. So we're having these discussions about having, you know, women in family medicine or women in general practice. So what have I learned? I've actually learnt that I can actually do this. I can actually stand up in front of people. I can follow John Buckley and not fall flat on my face. Thank you. I've learnt that it's okay to be vulnerable in front of your peers, and hence be a role model. One of my registrars came up to me, and we'd been working on PKs together, and said, "Wow, you always just look so calm and relaxed. I didn't think you'd fail at anything." And I said, "Oh, I've failed spectacularly lots and lots and lots of times." So it's actually really important that we model failure and failing well and failing gently to the people that we teach. I still feel like a bit of imposter quite often amongst this group, and probably I think all of us will at various different times. And I've also learnt I'm not the only one, so thank you.